Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a simple but uncomfortable question. What if this moment right now is the moment that changes everything? If you choose to rise, not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel ready, right now, because history doesn't remember the people who waited, it remembers the people who decided. Welcome to day one of the Time to Rise Summit 2026. This isn't just an event. This is a line in the sand, a moment where excuses end and ownership begins. Because rising doesn't happen when life gets easier, it happens when you get stronger. Most people think their future will somehow improve on its own, that one day motivation will appear, confidence will show up, or the timing will finally be right. But the truth is, nothing changes until a decision is made. Not a preference, not a wish, a decision so strong that it cuts off every other option. Because the moment you decide, your brain starts looking for solutions instead of excuses. And your energy shifts from waiting to moving. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Clarity follows commitment, not the other way around. People say, once I'm ready, I'll act. But readiness is a myth. No one ever feels ready to rise to a higher level. Growth always feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels risky. The people who succeed are not more certain. They are more committed. They decide first and figure it out along the way. Every breakthrough in your life began with a decision. The decision to stop tolerating what drains you. The decision to no longer negotiate with fear. The decision to step forward even when your hands are shaking. That single moment of choice has more power than years of planning without action, because indecision quietly steals time, and time is the one resource you never get back. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your commitment, and every failure becomes feedback rather than a setback. This perspective shift is what separates those who rise above the crowd from those who remain spectators in their own lives. Here's a deeper truth. People who take ownership never feel powerless, even when circumstances are difficult. They understand that power is not found in circumstances. It is created in choices. Every decision to act, every step to improve, and every moment of self-discipline reinforces the authority they have over their life. Ownership transforms fear into fuel, doubt into strategy, and obstacles into stepping stones. The most important hook of all is this. Ownership doesn't wait for motivation. It generates it. Once you fully commit to being responsible for your life, you no longer need permission to act. You no longer rely on external validation to move forward. Every day becomes an opportunity to exercise control over your destiny, to make decisions that align with your vision, and to rise to the person you were always meant to become. When you take ownership, you step into power, clarity, and momentum that cannot be stopped. So as we begin this summit, I want you to lock this into your nervous system. This is not just information. This is a transformation. What you do with what you learn here will determine the next chapter of your life. And here's the final truth I'll leave you with today. The door you've been waiting for is already open. The opportunity you're looking for is already here. The only question is, will you walk through it as the person you've been, or rise as the person you're meant to become? Look closely at your life right now. The results you're experiencing are not random. They are the outcome of past decisions, what you chose to focus on, what you chose to avoid, and what you chose to accept. When you change your decisions, you change your direction. And when you change your direction, your destiny begins to shift. Here's the hook most people miss. The quality of your life is shaped by the standards behind your decisions. If your standard is comfort, your decisions will protect ease. If your standard is growth, your decisions will demand courage. Rising doesn't happen because life gets easier. It happens because your standards get higher. A real decision eliminates the safety net. It burns the bridge to the old identity. It says, I'm no longer available for this version of myself. And when that happens, your actions align naturally. Discipline becomes easier, focus becomes sharper, energy becomes directed, not because life is suddenly simple, but because your mind knows there is no turning back. People underestimate how powerful one decisive moment can be. A single decision can end years of procrastination. A single decision can rewrite your self-image. A single decision can turn fear into fuel. And once that switch flips, you don't need external motivation. You become internally driven. Waiting feels responsible, but often it's just fear wearing a polite mask. The longer you wait, the heavier the weight becomes. Momentum doesn't come from thinking, it comes from choosing and moving. The moment you decide to rise, your nervous system adapts, your behavior follows, and your identity begins to evolve. This is why destiny is not something you discover, it's something you decide. And the most powerful decision you can make is to stop living as who you've been and commit fully to who you're becoming. Most people live their lives on autopilot, accepting what is easy, safe, and familiar. They settle for comfort because it feels predictable, and predictability feels secure. But here's the hard truth. Comfort is the enemy of progress. The life you are living right now is a reflection of the standards you have set for yourself, often without realizing it. Every decision, every habit, every action is a vote for who you become. If you tolerate mediocrity, excuses, and distraction, that is exactly what your life will reflect. The first step toward transformation is understanding that your standards, not your circumstances, determine your destiny. Raising your standards is not about perfection. It's about refusing to settle for less than you are capable of. It's about saying to yourself, I will no longer accept anything that diminishes my potential. Most people fail because they aim too low without even realizing it. They wait for motivation to strike, for opportunities to magically appear, or for others to recognize their worth. The truth is, the universe doesn't respond to hope. It responds to standards. What you demand from yourself sets the tone for what you attract. Here's a hook most people ignore. Your environment, your relationships, your work, and even your daily habits are constantly testing your standards every time you allow excuses to dictate your actions. You reinforce the old version of yourself. Every time you take responsibility and act at a higher level, you reinforce the new identity you're creating. It's in these repeated conscious choices that transformation takes root. Raising your standards is not a one-time decision. It's a continuous commitment to act differently even when no one is watching. Think about this. Most people tolerate late nights filled with distractions, conversations that drain them, and habits that sabotage their growth. They tolerate situations that frustrate them, relationships that limit them, and jobs that drain them. And yet they wonder why they feel stuck. Every tolerance becomes a silent vote for mediocrity. Every compromise becomes a chain that keeps you anchored in a life smaller than your potential. When you raise your standards, you start to operate differently. Your actions no longer align with convenience, they align with purpose. Decisions become clearer because you now filter them through the lens of what aligns with your elevated standards. Fear may still appear, but fear no longer controls you. Resistance may still challenge you, but resistance now becomes a signal that you're moving in the right direction. Standards are like a compass. They guide you even when the path is unclear. Here's another truth that hurts most people. Raising your standards is contagious. When you decide to honor yourself, your energy shifts, people notice, opportunities shift, and your life begins to mirror the elevated expectations you have set. You stop negotiating with mediocrity because you recognize it as incompatible with your vision. And when every choice you make is aligned with higher standards, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Most people underestimate the power of standards because they confuse them with rigid rules. Standards are not restrictions. They are commitments to yourself about what you will no longer tolerate and what you will demand instead. They are the blueprint for the person you are becoming. Every action, every habit, every choice becomes a reflection of the standards you uphold. And once those standards are non-negotiable, your life begins to transform in ways that feel effortless but are the result of relentless self-expectation. Most people run from discomfort as if it's a warning sign, as if feeling uneasy means something is wrong. They avoid situations that challenge them, tasks that intimidate them, and conversations that push their limits. The truth is, discomfort is not the enemy, it's the signal. It's the universal indicator that growth is waiting on the other side. Every breakthrough, every transformation, and every life-changing moment begins with a step into discomfort. The people who achieve extraordinary results are not immune to fear or struggle. They have learned to use discomfort as a compass, pointing them toward what matters most. Here's the hook that most people ignore. If comfort becomes your default, stagnation becomes inevitable. Life will always tempt you with ease because ease is safe. It doesn't challenge your ego. It doesn't stretch your skill. And it certainly doesn't expand your identity, but ease is also a trap. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce limitations you didn't need to accept. You shrink your potential, and you silently signal to your mind that mediocrity is acceptable. And before you realize it, months, years, even decades can pass without meaningful growth. Discomfort is the price of becoming the person you were meant to be. When you embrace it instead of fleeing, you unlock levels of capability and resilience that would otherwise remain dormant. It's not about recklessness or necessary risk. It's about strategically stepping into situations that stretch your capacity. Each uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to redefine what you believe is possible. The nervous system hates change, so it will always try to pull you back. That's when commitment becomes critical. The people who rise above fear don't avoid discomfort. They decide that what they want is more important than what feels easy. Here's another truth that hooks deeply. The pain of staying the same is always greater than the temporary struggle of growth. Once you see it that way, most people fail to act not because they are incapable, but because they underestimate how much enduring temporary discomfort will pay off. Every moment you resist growth costs more than the momentary challenge itself. The frustration of wasted potential, the regret of untapped talent, the resentment of watching others rise while you wait, all of that accumulates silently but relentlessly. Discomfort is also the ultimate teacher. It strips away excuses, illusions, and masks, forcing clarity. It exposes your true strengths, reveals weaknesses you didn't see, and challenges your limits in ways comfort never could. Every situation that feels hard, every conversation that feels tense, every goal that feels just out of reach is an invitation to expand. The difference between those who succeed and those who stagnate is how they respond to that invitation. Those who rise lean into discomfort, knowing it is the signpost pointing toward transformation. The people who achieve massive breakthroughs don't wait until it's easy. They act while the stakes are high, while their heart races, while their mind doubts. They understand that discomfort is not punishment. It's the bridge to a life that is larger, bolder, and more meaningful. And once you start embracing it, something incredible happens. Fear loses its grip, challenges become fuel, and each step outside the comfort zone reinforces a new level of confidence and resilience that grows exponentially. Discomfort is the secret language of growth, and the sooner you learn to read it, the faster your life accelerates. The moment you start choosing courage over ease, resistance over avoidance, and progress over comfort, you begin to tap into potential that most people never realize exists. Every time you lean into discomfort, you are rewriting your identities. Why? Expanding your limits and stepping into a version of yourself that refuses to settle. And most people wait for confidence to appear as if it's a gift, as if one day they will wake up and feel ready, capable, and unstoppable. They wait for clarity before they act, for certainty before they commit, for courage before they take the leap. The problem is that confidence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It doesn't come from thinking, analyzing, or hoping. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a byproduct of action. The people who achieve extraordinary results don't sit around waiting to feel ready. They act first. And through that action, they build the very confidence they thought they needed. Here's the hook most people overlook. Every hesitation, every delay, every moment of waiting for confidence is a moment wasted. You are stronger than you believe, more capable than you realize, and more resourceful than you give yourself credit. For the first step is to stop negotiating with fear and take a single deliberate action. That action may be imperfect, it may be uncomfortable, it may even feel risky, but that is exactly what triggers the chain reaction of confidence. Competence produces feedback, feedback produces learning, learning produces competence, competence produces certainty, and certainty becomes confidence. Many people misunderstand the relationship between fear and courage. They think courage is the absence of fear. But the truth is, courage is acting in spite of fear, stepping forward even when doubt whispers that you are not ready. The moment you take action, even a small step, your nervous system shifts. Your body recognizes that you are capable, and your mind begins to reinforce the belief that you can handle more than you imagine. Confidence grows not from waiting, but from doing. Here's another hook. Clarity also comes from movement, not contemplation. Most people overthink their lives, analyzing every scenario, weighing every outcome, and searching endlessly for the perfect strategy. But clarity is a product of momentum. When you act, you reveal what works, what doesn't, and where to go next. The longer you wait, the foggier your mind becomes, and the heavier your fear grows. Every step, no matter how small, dissolves uncertainty and builds clarity, which in turn fuels more confident action. Action also creates a feedback loop that strengthens identity. When you act consistently, you reinforce the belief that you're capable, resilient, and decisive. Every completed task, every challenge faced, every risk taken, no matter how minor, becomes evidence that you can handle what life throws at you. Confidence is literally built one decision, one action, and one victory at a time. Those who hesitate endlessly remain trapped in self-doubt because they never generate the proof that they are capable of more. Here's a truth that hooks deeply. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most powerful. The longer you wait, the more fear builds, and the smaller the task seems in your mind. But the moment you act, momentum begins, and what seemed impossible begins to feel possible. Action transforms doubt into belief, paralysis into momentum, and hesitation into energy. Those who achieve greatness understand this principle instinctively. They don't wait for confidence, they create it. Every bold move, every stretch outside comfort, every decision to step forward builds a foundation of self-trust that can never be taken away. The key is to act relentlessly, consistently, and with purpose, knowing that confidence is not found. It is forged through movement. Most people carry their past like a burden, as if mistakes, failures, or setbacks define who they are. They replay moments of regret, humiliation, or disappointment over and over, allowing them to dictate their present. But here's the truth that most overlook. Your past does not define you. It trains you. Every failure, every setback, every moment of doubt is not a mark of limitation. It is a lesson in disguise, a push toward growth, and an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you were before. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is how they interpret the experiences they have already lived. Here's the hook most people ignore. Every obstacle you face carries a hidden advantage. It teaches patience, resilience, and creativity. It tests your commitment, sharpens your focus, and forces you to adapt. When you look at your past as punishment, you become trapped by it. When you look at it as training, you become unstoppable. Every disappointment, every failed attempt, every door that closed has prepared you for the doors that are waiting to open. The key is learning to see the lessons hidden in the struggle. Most people try to erase their failures, hoping no one will see and pretending they didn't happen. But hiding from the past doesn't neutralize its impact. It allows it to control you quietly. When you face it honestly, acknowledge it, and extract the lessons it offers, you take back control. Your past becomes a tool, not a cage. Every challenge you survived, every setback you endured, and every fear you confronted adds to your skill set and strengthens your ability to handle what comes next. Here's another hook. Failure is not fatal. It's feedback. The world doesn't judge you by your setbacks. It responds to how you use them. The difference between those who succeed and those who stagnate is that successful people analyze what went wrong, adjust their approach, and take action again with new insight. They treat every misstep as a step forward because each experience teaches them something invaluable about themselves, about strategy, and about life. The people who rise above their circumstances do not pretend their past didn't happen. They embrace it fully. They understand that every hardship prepared them for greater responsibility, every rejection strengthened their resilience, and every mistake illuminated a path they wouldn't have discovered otherwise. The past becomes a teacher, not a judge. It is the silent architect shaping the strength, wisdom, and character required for higher levels of success. Here's the hook that transforms thinking. The moments you once regretted may hold the keys to your next victory. Every time you reflect on your past with curiosity rather than judgment, you uncover patterns, strengths, and insights that become fuel for future action. Those who rise don't waste energy wishing the past had been different. They leverage it as training ground, turning every scar into a stepping stone. Most people underestimate the power of perspective. Two people can experience the same failure, and one will see it as the end while the other sees it as a beginning. Your past is not a sentence, it is preparation. Every setback you've endured has strengthened your capacity, sharpened your instincts, and built resilience that cannot be taken away. Those who succeed are not the ones who avoided mistakes. They are the ones who learned faster, adapted smarter, and used every experience as leverage to rise higher than before. And most people spend their lives blaming circumstances, waiting for opportunities, or hoping that someone else will hand them permission to succeed. They wait for timing to be perfect, for conditions to be ideal, or for someone else to validate their worth. The harsh truth is that life doesn't hand out permission slips. Success, fulfillment, and transformation require ownership, a willingness to take full responsibility for your actions, your choices, and the person you're becoming. Waiting for permission is waiting to remain ordinary. Those who rise understand that the only way forward is to claim ownership of their lives without hesitation. Here's a hook most people ignore. The moment you take ownership, everything changes. When you stop blaming external factors and start asking, what can I do right now? You shift from being a victim to being a creator. Every decision, every action, every habit becomes an expression of your authority over your life. Ownership is the key that unlocks freedom because it removes the illusion of dependency. You no longer wait for someone to guide you, approve you, or rescue you. You step into the reality that you are the driver, the architect, and the force behind your destiny. Many people misunderstand what ownership truly means. It's not just about doing what's expected or following rules. True ownership is radical accountability for your results, your failures, and your victories. It's refusing to hide behind excuses, justifications, or circumstances. It's deciding that no matter what happens, you are responsible for the direction your life takes. The moment you accept this, the power that once seemed external becomes internal. Every choice becomes meaningful because it is yours to make. Here's another hook. Hesitation is the enemy of ownership. When you wait for someone else to validate your ideas, when you defer action until someone else says it's okay, you surrender control of your life. Ownership demands courage, decisiveness, and action. It demands that you stop negotiating with fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The people who transform their lives don't wait for perfect conditions, they create them. They act in alignment with their vision, regardless of what others say or what obstacles appear. Ownership also rewires your mindset. When you truly accept that your life is your responsibility, you stop wasting energy on blame, regret, and comparison. You focus entirely on solutions, strategies, and progress.